Choosing an overdrive pedal can be a tricky but fun business. In this video I hope to help you with that process and hopefully save you bits of bother, save you bits of money and help you make sure that you get a pedal that you're happy with. And I'll be right back after this intro. Hello and welcome to another video. My name is Elmo Karjalainen and it's good to have you along. You can call me this guy if my name is tricky to pronounce. Today it's how to choose an overdrive pedal, but the same thing goes for distortion pedals as well. I'll be referring to overdrives just to keep it simple, but you can kind of add overdrive if you want to. It's basically the same principles apply. Need a bit of tea. Ew, I'm so English. No, I'm not. The way I see it, choosing an overdrive pedal comes down to a few different factors. I'll list those factors first, then I'll discuss those factors, and then I'll play a bit with a few different overdrives that I have in front of me and give you examples so that you hopefully understand what it is I'm talking about when I give you these principles. If you just want to strip if you want to strip, by all means, I can't see you. If you want to skip to the playing examples, I'll put a timestamp in the description. So, let's get going. These different factors I mentioned, what are they? Well, I have a few. They're not necessarily limited to these, but the ones I have are type, quality, reliability, versatility, price, and size. So, type, with that I mean how much overdrive do you need, or how much distortion do you need. Basically, distortions and overdrives do the same thing. They distort your signal in slightly different ways, but they do distort it. So if you play blues, you probably don't need a Boss Metal Zone, but if you play metal and have a clean amp, you probably don't need an Ibanez Tube Screamer. So figure out what type of music it is you're playing, well you probably know, and try to think about what type of pedal you need. Does it have to have a lot of gain? And I'll go through a few different pedals that have different amounts of gain. Then you have quality and reliability. Now these go very much hand in hand. Build quality will mean better, or better build quality will mean better reliability and also better quality of sound, although sound quality is very much subjective. And throw in here as well versatility, and when you add versatility you add reliability and build quality, you also add price. So the price goes up when you kind of raise any of these or all of these, drop any of these and the price comes down. Very simple in a way, but there are a few budget options that we'll explore as well. So you have type, quality, reliability, versatility, and price so far, and then you have size. How big is your pedal board? How many pedals can you fit onto the pedal board if you have a pedal board? And if you don't, well, are you planning on getting one? And how many pedals can you fit onto that? Pedals come in different sizes. Now again, with versatility, again there's a situation where you have to think about what do you need the pedal to be able to do? Does it have to be versatile, or do you need just a one-trick pony? So that's something that you have to think about as well. Okay, so far so good. Let's just get right down to the playing examples. Okay, so in front of me, I don't know how the picture will look on YouTube. I hope it'll look good. If it doesn't, I'm sorry, I haven't really filmed my pedal board, my whole pedal board before with the camera, just one pedal at a time. So in front of me I have an Ibanez Tube Screamer Mini, an MXR EVH 5150, a Fender Yngwie Malmsteen Overdrive, a Strymon Sunset and a Boss Turbo Distortion. And what I hope to do with these is kind of demonstrate a few differences and also give you a few, let's say, budget-friendly options, or make the whole process a bit more budget-friendly and maybe a bit easier for you. So, before I get going, I have a Fender Yngwie Malmsteen Strat with Seymour Duncan YJM Fury pickups going into a Marshall 50 watt plexi going into a Marshall clap. My speech is all over the place today, with a bit of delay in the loop as well. It's a bit loud. That's my cleanish signal. The same principles apply even if you have a clean, entirely clean amp. Mine isn't entirely clean, so take that into consideration as well. Let's start off with the Ibanez Tube Screamer, which I think will be the one with the least gain of the lot. I haven't tried the MXR EVH 5150 yet, so I don't know how that will sound, but I suspect that will have more gain than a couple of the others. So, Ibanez TS Mini, here goes. Gain is on full, by the way. Now, even with gain and level up full, there is not a terribly big amount of overdrive going on. It's great for blues, but if you want to play a bit more heavy stuff, maybe not too great. On the other hand, there's not a lot of noise. So I'm not using a noise gate at the moment, although I will with the next pedal, because that's the Fender Yngwie Malmsteen Overdrive, which has a lot more gain and a lot more noise as well. That's why I use a noise gate. So just a quick A and B, TS Mini first. Yngwie Overdrive. And let's see what the MXR EVH 5150 sounds like. Not too bad, but a lot more gain than the Fender Yngwie Malmsteen Overdrive. Then you have the Strymon Sunset, which I have here for a slightly different reason, but we can kind of show what that does or can do as well. So it has two sides, it has A and B. I have it set up so that the B side has much less gain going on. And the A side has a lot more. Okay, and then I have the Boss Turbo Distortion, which I don't have set on full blast at the moment. Sounds like this. Okay, so those are 5 different types of overdrives. Now, let's consider price. The cheapest of the bunch, I actually forgot to check how much the Turbo Distortion is at the moment, but I think the cheapest of the bunch is the TS Mini. Then we have the Turbo Distortion and the Fender Yngwie Malmsteen Overdrive. roughly in the same price range, although they do not make the Yngwie Overdrive anymore. Then you have the MXR, and then you have the Strymon Sunset, which is clearly the most expensive one. But some of these have added costs, or shall we say some of these have reduced costs. This is what happened with the Fender when I didn't have the noise gate on. If I turn on the MXR, this happens. Just a bit. That's because the MXR has a built-in noise gate. Same thing with the Strymon, that actually has even less noise. Now it's on, now it's off. Turbo distortion. So when you're buying an overdrive pedal, you have to consider, do you need something else apart from the actual overdrive pedal? So the Strymon Sunset, while it might seem a bit more expensive than the rest of these, is actually not that expensive when you consider you can save on the price of noise gates. If you need 2 overdrive pedals, you can save by just getting the Strymon Sunset, which can do a lot of different things. And it's actually a bit more versatile than just 2 overdrive pedals, which you just hook up. On a side note, I'll put links to reviews. I've done reviews of all of these pedals. I'll put links below if you want to check those out. So it's not that straightforward. You can't just look at price and go, well, that costs more than this. I'll just get this, because price can be slightly deceptive. The price differences, or the price can go up on certain stuff when you have to add more stuff. But if you just need one pedal, let's say you play blues, if you just need one pedal, maybe a tube screamer is a good alternative. Now, one option that a lot of people go for is this one. That's the TS808. Now, I've reviewed this as well, and I've compared it to the Tube Screamer Mini, which I have in front of me on the floor, and there's not a big difference between this and the TS Mini. Actually, the difference is so small that I would be happy to just use the TS Mini. And the TS Mini is cheaper than this, and it's smaller than this. The only downside is that the knobs, the level and the tone knob, are such that you can't really see them on stage. You can't see where you've set them, but then again, you can probably hear. So that's something to consider. You don't necessarily have to buy the flagship thingamajig that everyone's been using. This has been used by everyone and their dog. You can check out cheaper versions, sometimes by that very company who does that very thing that you're after, or that you're considering. Another alternative is to get something like this. This is the Joyo Vintage Overdrive. Now, this is a very budget-friendly option if you want a tube screamer sound. This does a very nice tube screamer sound for a fraction of the cost. So why doesn't everyone just get a budget-friendly version? Well, because budget-friendly usually means reliability goes down, which can be a big issue, especially if you're playing live. Another thing is that resale prices for these are terrible, whereas you can probably get most of your money back when you sell an Ibanez Tube Screamer or something like that. And there are tons of different budget-friendly options that you can check out for different pedal makes or different types of pedals. So one pedal that's very popular is the Dodd 250 preamp, which is basically an older version of the Fender Yngwie Malmsteen Overdrive. They've kind of made different updates and kind of made it more the way Yngwie wants it with the Fender, but Yngwie used to use a Dodd 250, but nowadays you can get a Mosky D250X, which costs like, I think it's $30, whereas you have to pay quite a lot more for even a reissue Dodd 250. Again, quality, reliability on one of these budget things, not too great. But the thing is that often the sound quality might be slightly worse, but I would say that not by a lot. Now that's something that you have to consider yourself. Do you want the real deal, or do you want, or are you happy with something that's very close, that most people will not notice a difference? And again, reliability and all that comes into play. And if you're on a tight budget, by all means, saving money on an overdrive pedal is a better idea than saving a bit of money on, let's say, a guitar. Although you can't save as much money on an overdrive pedal, but yeah, that's a different story. Now, one thing I would definitely avoid if you're thinking about buying an overdrive pedal and you're a bit unsure what to get, steer clear of the vintage stuff, because that's for people who kind of are fanatics about a certain thing. I'd say that differences in sound are tiny compared to differences in price. So you can get the reissue Tube Screamer you can get for just over €100, $100 second hand. But I saw these, the vintage ones, on eBay. Someone was asking for €1,500 for one of these. I don't think it will sell for that price, but over 1,000, why not? So do you want to pay 10 times as much for what's basically the same thing if you're unsure? No, you don't. If you're a real fanatic and really want the old stuff, then it might be an option for you. But if you're kind of on the fence, don't do it. It's just a waste of money. So, what would I recommend? It's difficult to recommend any kind of blanket one-size-fits-all solution. I have a video of the top 10 overdrive pedals that I've ever tried. I'll put a link to that here in the card somewhere and in the description as well. So check that out. But as a kind of blanket statement, this is a very good and affordable pedal. It's the Boss SD1, the Super Overdrive. I've also compared this to the Tube Screamer Mini and the TS-808, so you can check that video out as well. But this is just a great all-round pedal, slightly less gain than the Fender Yngwie Malmsteen Overdrive. But then again, if you don't need a ton of gain, this is really good. If you need more gain, well, maybe the Fender Yngwie Malmsteen Overdrive is something for you. Or you can stack overdrives, you can have 2 overdrives. Or you just have a clean boost in front of this, that works great. Basically, those are the things that I would think about. How much gain do you need? Versus something totally different. And do you need a noise gate with that and all of that? So I hope I've helped you at least a bit. On a more general note, if I was you and I was thinking of buying something but I was unsure, go to a music store, try them out. That's a great way to kind of get a feel for the pedals. You can also check out YouTube gear reviews, but don't fall for the hype, because often the reviewers are trying to sell the gear that they're reviewing, or they've been paid to review the gear, and you won't get an honest review, so that can often be a bit of a problem. Second hand is a great way to save a few bucks. If you're buying on eBay, just check the seller's reputation, and you should be fine. I've never had a problem buying from eBay or selling on eBay, and I've bought and sold quite a lot of stuff there. If you want to check out some of my gear reviews, there is a playlist floating around here somewhere. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already, hit that bell notification, support me on Patreon, because you get a bunch of exclusive and comments. I hope to see you in another one. Take care. Bye!